Hi guys, welcome back. Today, what is really catching my mind, it seems to be a very rapid development in the US Senate races, as recently Trump endorsed JD Vance, he also endorsed Dr. Oz, and that is partly what I'm going to talk about today. So, on the issues, JD Vance is really good, and this is definitely what a lot of people have been hoping for, but let me explain why I think these two endorsements was the right thing, and I'm going to start with JD Vance in Ohio. So, in the Republican primary, you have someone who is a very known pretender, who is Josh Mandel, who has been leading in the polls a lot earlier, and now JD Vance is leading in the poll for the first time, but unfortunately it is by his own pollster, but it's probably going to be more as we go on. But you can see already from this list of endorsements from different candidates, four different candidates, that JD Vance is probably the best one. He has the endorsement of Jim Banks of Indiana, Josh Hawley, probably the best US senator, also from Matt Gaetz, of course Trump, to mention some, and Peter Thiel and Tucker Carlson. So clearly that is a very, very good sign about him. And of course Bernie Moreno, who himself withdrew. That tells you a lot without looking at Vance's platform, that he is probably the best candidate in this race and someone who you should all support. Now the other one is Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. It is just next to Ohio, and let's take a look at the candidates there. Of course, this field in the Republican column has been a shitfest, to put it lightly. It has been a lot of candidates, and then the two big ones entered, David McCormick and Dr. Oz. McCormick has been leading in a lot of polls that he has been paying for himself. Let's see, McCormick's campaign, McCormick, yeah, pretty much. So he has bought all of these polls, but otherwise Dr. Oz have also been leading before McCormick started buying polls, and recently after he got the endorsement of Trump. So I think that is going to be enough to pull him over eventually. I know that many people would be critical of Oz, but say that McCormick is definitely worse, and I agree. On the issues, someone like Kathy Barnett and Carla Sands, and of course Sean Parnell, would definitely be better. But Kathy Barnett and Carla Sands, their chances at winning the primary is slim. Winning the general is even more difficult, especially for Barnett. Carla Sands is a former ambassador to Denmark, so I think she has the heavyweight there to do good in the general. But anyway, it's going to be either Oz or McCormick, and I believe it's going to be Oz, and I hope it's going to be Oz out of those two. So certainly the right decision from Trump in that matter. And John Fairman still seems to be the Democratic nominee also for this race. But there is one more Senate race that I have seen some recent development in, and I would like to give some input, and that is New Hampshire. Maggie Hassan is one of the senators that I would most like to see defeated in the entire country, and she has, I would say, three big challengers, and Don Bullock is one. Then we have Kevin Smith and Chuck Morris. Chuck Morris, the president of the New Hampshire Senate. So it's basically these three candidates: Chuck Morris, Kevin Smith, and Don Bullock. Now, what type of candidates are they? They are probably more moderate than you would see in a place like Florida. This is New Hampshire, which has been leaning Democratic for some time. But the real exception here is Kevin Smith. He is not really a moderate, he is the conservative candidate in this race.
My experience in this great community confirms something that I have suspected my entire life: that the best ideas come from people like you and me. And we need new leaders imbued with common sense to replace the distant, disinterested, and dishonest career politicians in Washington, D.C. My name is Kevin Smith, and I'm a conservative Republican, and I am running for the United States Senate. And I've come to view her not so much as Maggie Hassan, but as Maggie Hasn't.
Then you have Chuck Morse, who has a platform that is more moderate and probably better for a, I wouldn't say centrist state, but a swing state like New Hampshire. And then you have Don Bullock, who doesn't really talk a lot about his policies. I have struggled to actually find his policies. It's a lot about him being an outsider, and he has a very impressive military career, but I still wonder what exactly his policies are. I guess you have to watch his interviews at Fox News to find out. Of course, he is slamming Biden, as most people are. Kevin Smith, we know that he's the conservative here. He is probably one who would be best on the issues, but again, maybe struggle to win, I'm not sure. Maybe not in 2022. And then you have Chuck Morse, who is the president of the Senate and who, well, he is struggling in the polls. Not against Maggie Hassan though. Let's take a look at them. So this is something of what we are dealing with here. Don Bullock is leading with 33%, but at 58% is undecided. And Chuck Morse is only at 2%, Kevin Smith is at 4%. I'm not going to mention the lesser candidates. This is certainly not a good start for Morse. I think that he's more relevant than that. And this is a very recent poll from April, meaning this month. So this new poll only has Bullock down to Hassan by 1 point. Previously he was down by 5 among adults, but among registered voters by 15. So Hassan has been leading by a lot more earlier, but he has really come along, and RCP down by 4 is what Bullock is. Fenton, don't know, but Chuck Morse, look at this guy. He is actually leading Hassan in the latest poll from the University of New Hampshire, but again earlier Morse was doing worse than Bullock. And it's really hard to say why this development, because this poll also had Morse at like 2%. And then you have Kevin Smith, who is only up against Hassan in 3 polls. Down by 1 against her in the newest University of New Hampshire poll, down by 5.5 in the aggregate. So it is going to be exciting to see. I would say maybe now Bullock is definitely the favorite to be the nominee, but it's only been 1 poll. And let's see, when is the primary? Yeah, I don't even know when the primary is, so stay put. This is going to be exciting. But thank you all so much for watching. Please like this video, and I'll see you next time.